Hey, what's up, guys? Back with another episode of the Yankees Farm Report. Today we have the great Eric Reyzelman. I got my guy Nick with me. Nick, what's up?
Going on, man?
And then I have Eric Reyzelman with here. Glad to have you on. Very excited to talk to you today. How you doing today, Eric?
Appreciate you guys having me, man. Appreciate it. Doing well.
Yeah, you got a lot of Yankee fans excited, especially me. I've been very excited for your season. I had conversations for about 2 years with one of my guys. We talk about prospects all the time, and he always mentioned your name. He always mentioned your name, and I said I just haven't seen the guy. And then one day I got like a tweet saying Eric Reyzelman's he's on the mound today at the FSC, and from there on, I just followed you a lot more closely. So I'm very excited about what you brought to the table this year.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. It's just it's good to be healthy and throwing, and other than that, no complaints. That's kind of how I see things.
All right. So getting started, again, as I had mentioned you before, your background is a story of, well, in baseball is a story of perseverance. It's very interesting to me. Going back into your days of high school, you were cut twice from the team, is what I've read, and somehow you still managed to push through. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, high school career was different than most for sure. The first thing I always say is I have to preface it with I went to a super competitive high school. We were number two in the country for multiple years I was there. The guys that went to play there, they went for a reason. They were always the best guys on their travel teams, in their areas, whatever it may be. Making the decision to go to De La Salle was you knew that that was a sport you were going to play. You knew you were good at it, and you wanted to test it with the best around. So I loved baseball so much that's from like age 10, 11, that's really where I wanted to go. I realized that I wanted to go where the baseball was the most competitive, and that's the decision I made. So when I had made the decision to go to De La Salle, freshman year made the team. We had two freshman teams. That's how many guys were trying out. I mean, we had
Wow.
over 100 guys try out. Super, super competitive. There were still a ton of cuts. Was able to make it my freshman year. Didn't really pitch. Wasn't strong, wasn't big, wasn't tall. Kind of just was on the team, with the guys. Come sophomore year, I just didn't really have the right work ethic, the right way to go about it. I had, more so taken it for granted. Thought I'd made the first one. JV was going to come easy, and I wasn't as big and strong and as physically able as the other guys, and so that's what held me back. And when tryouts came around, I just wasn't in the position to be in the same class as the rest of the dudes that were trying out. So I got cut from JV that year. Kind of kept playing travel ball like the teams that I was doing beforehand, and so junior year comes around and I'm still not really the most physical, but have a little more velocity, a little more ability. I was probably about 82, 84 miles an hour. Went in there, thought I had a pretty good tryout, but just being that I wasn't always at the lifts, wasn't always at the workouts, wasn't always with the team in the off season. Um, he didn't let me stay with the program, so was cut from varsity and junior varsity that year as a junior. And so that's kind of where things, flipped for me. I realized that I really needed to put in the right work, and push the right buttons if I wanted to keep playing baseball. And so when I got cut that junior year, my parents had, finally sat me down. And it's a tough thing, because they knew how much I love the game.
Hmm.
They said, it's time to hang it up. I come from a super academic family, really, really smart family that had always wanted their kids to go into something, something smart instead of something athletic. And my older brother played football at Fresno State, so they were 0 for 1 with that. And so then, when it comes to me, they really didn't see an athlete out of me. I wasn't the most physically gifted. I had bad asthma, couldn't run up and down a basketball court or a soccer field. So pitching was really the only thing that I was able to do, and just didn't realize kind of what potential I had. And so that spring, after I'd gotten cut, I kind of had to keep it going. So one of my old coaches, ran this team that on Friday nights we'd play basically just a game under the lights at a local park, with all the guys that had gotten cut from our local high schools. And so, it was fun. I'd start on the mound, I'd bat third, even though I didn't even know how to swing a bat. We just had a good time, kept the skills intact. I started working hard, started having lessons with a coach in the area that really knew what he was doing. Um, Mechanics got a little smoother. I was able to make some strides and make this really good travel team in our area, going into that summer. first tournament, velocity ticked up, and I was starting to throw strikes. So I was able to kind of get to like 87, 89 from a really deceptive angle. A couple pitches for strikes. Ended up committing to the University of San Francisco. And the upcoming year, after that, I did everything with the team in high school, went to all the lifts, did everything with them. Played that senior year, had a great time. We were a really, really good team. A lot of guys in pro ball in college right now. And I'm really grateful that, all those dominoes fell the way they did because otherwise, wouldn't be where I am now.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way that you tell your story about, you met the right coach, right? I guess he applied the interest that you needed, and you also had to be honest with yourself, right? Like you said, you had to take it a little bit more serious. You were just, I guess, at a younger age, you made was it that you were just that your skills were just that far ahead, and then when you got into a pool, a smaller pool where players where kids were just as good as you or maybe even better, did that push you into the next level? Was that when that happened? When did that click?
It did, for me. And, I grew close, I ended up growing close with all these guys in high school. But early on, I was the guy that, got cut and kept coming back to try out. And so that's not really a good way to be viewed at my school. Everyone plays a sport, everyone's successful, everyone's athletic. And so I was the guy that, I've said this before, I'd be in class and I'd have my laptop open and I'd be looking up like, um, are there colleges you can play at without playing high school baseball? And I'd be sitting there sifting through D3, NAIA schools, JUCOs,
Hmm.
thinking about, writing emails to coaches. And it was, at that point, it was a delusion. It was something that, I didn't realize what was realistic and what wasn't. I just knew that I loved baseball and I didn't really know how to go about it. And so,
Hmm.
being that guy and, getting the question of, oh man, are you really going to try out again this year? Okay, I wonder how that's going to go. And so, I just kind of got tired of being that guy, and I realized that if I wanted to do something about it, I had to start, with myself first. And it wasn't a problem with anyone around me. It was just something that, when you really, really want something and you know that it's something you love and you're passionate about, you gotta put yourself in a position to be able to achieve it. And at that point, I wasn't. And so once I figured out that I had to really, do something about it, then the script flipped a little bit.
Hmm. So you spent what it was? I think it was one season at San Fran, right? You spent 1 year there.
Two. So I was there
Two.
for two seasons, but the first was cut short. It was COVID. So my
Mm.
freshman year, it was going really well. I thought I was throwing the ball well, and right before COVID hit, I had tore my UCL. And so things as good as things come, quickly, things get taken away just as fast. So um, I had I didn't know I was going to have surgery. I was going to try to push through it for the season, which wouldn't have been a smart decision. Um, COVID shut us down, which then led me to be able to have surgery right away. It was one of the
Mm.
last elective surgeries in San Francisco before, everything just closed down. So was able to get it done at a really opportune time and had a lot of time to take care of it, a lot of time to rehab. The problem was I tried to come back a little too fast again my sophomore year. It's kind of been a theme of like my career and just in general, me with baseball. I have a hard time letting the foot off the gas. So for me,
Sitting still.
it's like well, yeah, yeah. So I always want to throw. I want to throw hard. I want to get back. I want to do things. I hate not being active. I've gotten to the point now where kind of the way I was in high school, I'm almost, you have the opposite problem at times. So, um, tried to come back too fast, didn't feel great, was able to start the second game of the season that year. It
Hmm.
was like 10, 11 months post TJ, it wasn't the smartest decision and the consequences followed. I had a brutal year. Wasn't throwing strikes, shoulder wasn't feeling good. Everything just kind of crumbled. And mentally, I didn't really, wasn't at the level yet to be able to move past it. So it got to me. I had probably the worst season of baseball I've ever had. And that summer, couple other things had come up that year. I wasn't necessarily on the same page with my coaching staff. Um, wasn't feeling like the school I was at in San Francisco itself, just not a good fit. Um, wanted to move on. So I entered my name in the portal and then went down to Southern California, actually where I am now. Got in touch with a really, really good pitching coach that has really, really helped me in my career.
Hmm.
Was able to kind of get me to hone in my mechanics and get everything cleaner and easier and freer to help avoid injury. It just his whole the way that he looks at pitching, it's basically, you want to throw like a shortstop. You want to have a short arm path, cleaner arm path. And so for me, that was a big issue that I had had. So when I came down here, worked out for a month, got everything all set, got my mechanics a lot cleaner, was able to get a temp contract out in the Cape Cod League,
Mhm.
and was able to throw the ball well. Cleared the head, reset mentally, and was lucky enough to get an offer to go play at LSU.
I don't know if you want to get anything in there, Nick. 'Cause I had a question about Cape at the Cape.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. I was kind of gonna ask you, like, I mean, when did you start like seeing the upper 90s? That's
Yeah,
all.
so the story of that's actually pretty funny. I mean, my freshman year at USF, I think I got up to 95 once or twice. Like it was very rare. I was more so 91, 92. Sophomore year, kind of similar, but then, with some of the injuries and wasn't feeling as good, was down, like 87, 88. And everything kind of just wasn't going my way at that point. Then when I got to the Cape, it's a funny story of how it happened. So, when I got there, it was a temp contract, so nothing's guaranteed when you get out there. It's like if you're not throwing the ball well, then they'll find another guy to replace you. I wasn't one of those, really, really good college baseball players that, gets guaranteed a spot in the Cape the whole summer. So for me, it was just, I got an opportunity for a week and went out there and waited my turn. Actually didn't even get to pitch until like the last day or two of it. And so finally got into pitch. It was bases loaded in like a 1-1 game, which,
No
fired
pressure.
me up. Yeah, just wild. And so I get in there and we have a gun at the stadium. And I've always kind of been a gun peeker. I can't, I can't. We're guilty of it. Us
Shocking,
relievers,
shocking.
man. Us relievers, we're brutal with it. But you know, I was taking a look, and so I thought I felt really good. Body felt awesome. New mechanics. I was all fired up. And my first pitch, I looked over, it was like 86. And I was freaking out. And so I'm like, okay, all right, like figure it out, get your body on time. Went up to like 87, 88, got up to like 89. And I absolutely ripped one. I ended up striking out the two guys at stranded the runners. And, that was my first outing in the Cape, which that ended up allowing me to stay the whole summer. Coach loved it. And I ended up having a great relationship with him out there. I ended up going back the next year as well. But after that outing, I finished and I was like, okay, I had threw the ball well, but I wasn't throwing hard. And, the point was to come out and try to throw the ball well and hard and try to get a spot to go play somewhere. And I was like, man, if I'm 86, 89, I don't know. I don't know if I have any baseball left in me. What's going on? Come to find out that apparently the gun got kicked right before I went in. And I was worried because like the guy before me was like chucking like 95, 98. He was a
Hmm.
dog. And I find out that the gun got kicked and it was down like 6 miles an hour. So I threw the hardest I've ever thrown in my life. And I think seeing like those 87s, 88s made me like rear back a little more.
Hmm.
So I found out, I got a call from the head coach of the University of Oregon like an hour after my game. And it was a complete shock to me. I'd never been in that kind of that realm of baseball. For me, just getting to USF was lucky. And so kind of got a call from the coach at Oregon and he said, he had someone there watching and I was 94, 97 and I freaked out. I was like, there's no way. So it started there, and I was able to I ended up starting the rest of the summer there. So I started and velo kind of stayed up in the mid 90s. Was able to have a good summer, ended up committing to LSU and my role obviously changed when I got there. Ended up being a 1 inning guy, just threw fastballs, and so that's really when the average had started really ticking up.
Yeah, so the LSU number. I'm not a draft guy. I'm more of an IFA guy. I have other people who are trying to coach me through college baseball now. But I
Yep.
did notice that the what is it, 41 innings I think you pitched that, or 42 innings you pitched at LSU, 66 strikeouts, put you on the map. But I did want to say that the numbers at the Cape your second season were straight up fire. You had a great season there.
Yeah, the second year was awesome. I think it was more so to show teams, when I went out there in the Cape the second year, right before the draft, it was more so to show teams that, I wasn't just a fastball guy. I had other pitches. I had the ability to spin the ball and throw changeups too. And, the Yankee staff that I was able to see out there was awesome. I loved the organization from the second that I had my first meeting with them at LSU. Everything they were about, it just clicked.
Mhm.
they put everything they have into us. They put everything they have into getting us better, and all, it's only about our development and what's best for us. And so it worked out awesome.
Yeah, we've had great stories about, pitchers that get drafted. I mean, we've talked to a couple guys over the last two seasons that were drafted, and they speak volumes of, their introduction into the organization and how much the training is. And to be honest with you, I was surprised and amazed by some of the things that they had told me. So I'm glad that, you're basically just reiterating some of the stuff that they're saying. One of the things that I do like about these sit downs in the podcast is, um when did you find out that you were drafted by the Yankees, and what was that like? Because I've heard some funny stories with some guys.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great story. So my family and, friends, I had come back home after the Cape, and so we went to this pizza place that, we been going to since I was a kid. And we went over there and just had a TV to ourselves, and it was just my closest friends and, close family. Put it on the TV. It was just everyone was just kind of sitting, waiting. I didn't really know what to expect at all. Agent had heard a couple things, couple teams that were interested. Didn't really know when I'd go. Um, and out of nowhere, it's a brutal story, honestly. That my one of my old travel ball coaches, who, he's a character, definitely a character. He, instead of watching the TV, because the TV's always a little behind, this
Hmm.
dude's on his own in the corner of the room, refreshing Twitter like second by second. And
Hmm.
so, like, the Yankees pick was in like six, seven picks. And he comes up behind me and he starts shaking like my chair. He's like, "You ready to be a Yankee? You ready to be a Yankee? What do you think about the Yankees?" I'm like, "Dude," I'm like, what are you talking about?" And as he's doing that, I get a phone call from my area scout.
Hmm.
I get a phone call from my area scout, and I'm like, and it all kind of starts to come together, and I'm like, "Oh man, it's happening." And so, my area scout, I super grateful to him. He's the first one that, saw anything in me, gave me the opportunity. And so he called me, congratulated me, and then Scott Love Camp, our director of pitching in the draft, called. And it kind of went after that. But then after those two calls, then it popped up on the TV, and everyone was able to, celebrate. And it was awesome. I'm never gonna forget that day. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I see those videos sometimes of the kids when they get drafted in those first few rounds, and it looks amazing. I gotta imagine it's an awesome experience. Especially, I mean, I don't know if were you a Yankees fan growing up? I mean, you're a West Coast kid, right?
I'm a West Coast kid, so I was a Giants fan growing up. But for me, like, everything that I've ever known about baseball has the Yankees centered around it.
Mm,
It's like you can't be a baseball fan without knowing who the Yankees are, what they're about, how much they've won, the history.
hmm.
I mean, it's just different feeling getting drafted by, the baseball team.
Right.
It's different. I can't say I don't think that it would be the same for any other team. I feel like even with the Giants, there's just a different feeling knowing that, you're part of that history and you have
Mm.
an opportunity to make it up and play at Yankee Stadium. It's kind of hard to describe, but it's definitely awesome.
I had another question for you. Nick, do you have anything before I move into this?
Are there any like players that you looked up to, pitcher wise?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was Tim Lincecum fanatic. I mean, that was that
Oh
was that
man.
was the guy that I grew up watching.
Hmm.
The 10, 12, 14 Giants were I'm lucky to have been able to see that and go to those games. I was at the game that Travis Ishikawa hit the game winning home run in the NLCS. I mean, just cool stuff. I mean, I was able to watch some really, really fun baseball growing up, but Tim Lincecum was definitely my guy. I mean, that guy,
The freak.
ah,
Yeah, he
man.
was he was
It
that
was
dude
a
was he
problem.
was he was
Yeah.
insane, man. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he was awesome.
So you arrive into the organization in the summer of 22. I mean, what was that like when you first got there? Did they tweak anything? Did they look at you and say, "Yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that"? How was that?
It was awesome because it was definitely a culture shock, right? You get to pro ball, it's different than anything you're used to. Everything is about your development. Where, high school, college baseball, it's all about winning right away. And suddenly you get to pro ball and you see all these players and everyone's focused on getting you better, getting you whatever you need to be the pitcher that you want to be in, a few years from now. So for me, it was definitely something to get used to. It was different. It's all about, what you eat, what you put in your body, what you do in the weight room. You're monitoring your intensity throwing, not being an idiot, all that kind of stuff. It's super important. And so for me, the one thing that I did love is that, our organization is fantastic at being like, it's not, you don't come in and change everything about someone. They say, they draft us for a reason. They want the pitcher that we are. They just want to help us get to, the next stage of our career. So it's not like, you come in and everything changes. They want to work with you and they want to know what you're good at. They want to know what you want to work on. You have a lot of say. There's not a negative thing I can say about how the Yankees player development systems run, the staff, top to bottom. It's unbelievable.
You pitched at a couple of levels, throughout the system so far. I have a question. Like you pitched at LSU too, which is the highest level of college baseball. What level would you say is similar in a pro level to playing at LSU?
Yeah, I've gotten that question before, and it's hard for me to say because double A baseball is so it's so competitive. I mean, these hitters that you're facing are you got 3, 4 future like really, really good big leaguers on every team. And 1 through 9, like every guy's gonna put up a tough at bat. And so I feel like it's really hard to compare SEC baseball with minor league baseball. I think that I've heard people compare it to double A. It's not. Double A baseball is a lot more competitive, I think. Um, but I mean, it's just SEC baseball. The atmosphere and the crowd played a huge part in that too. Like those games at Alex Box Stadium are games I'm never going to forget. Those situations coming in, bases loaded and having to get out of jams, like it's a different beast. And so it's I've been lucky though. It's Somerset this year, and even Hudson Valley. I mean, we went to a couple stadiums with fantastic atmospheres. TD Ballpark had a great atmosphere. We had fans showed up every day, especially weekend games. Like I there was never a game that I came into that I couldn't feel any energy, couldn't feel any adrenaline. Um, it was awesome, and especially Hudson Valley too. I both affiliates they were really fun to pitch at.
This was the first year I went to Hudson Valley this year. I went to Somerset also this year. I went to the game that Garrett Cole pitched this year, and I could say the atmosphere was I didn't expect that. I've been down here when the Tarpons play in West Palm Beach, and there'll be maybe 100 people in the stadium. But I think at Somerset, I don't know if it was I think it might have been announced the day before that Garrett Cole was going to pitch, but it was a pretty much packed crowd, literally not an
Yep.
empty seat in the place. And like you said, it was electric there. I remember Garrett Cole opened. I think he pitched 3 innings. Zach Messenger finished out that game. I think he pitched I think he pitched the rest of the way. Spencer Jones homer. He went oppo in that game. But it was a great stadium. I really loved the atmosphere there.
Yeah, it's all. I mean, those games were so fun, especially playoffs this year were so fun. I mean, yeah, that really wish that it ended a little differently, but we played
I thought
hard
it
and
was gonna
those
end
were
for you
some
guys
fun
a little
games.
differently.
We did too. We really it's from what I've heard, and I can't speak to it because I've only been on one minor league playoff team. You hear that a lot of minor league baseball. It's the vibes of teams are a little different. Some teams, you got guys that are tired, long seasons, etc. We did not have one guy on our team that didn't want to do everything they wanted to do to win. Like, I mean, we were all on board. Everyone gave everything they had. It's like it was do or die every game, and it was so much fun. It was a special team, really, really special team that we had.
Yeah, you guys were really great at the end, especially in the playoffs. Like I said, I thought you guys were going to go all the way. It kind of seemed like in the 22 team. I know you weren't on that team, but it did seem like the 22 team that they were just going to complete the mission.
Yeah.
I know in the summer 22, I think you didn't pitch that much, right? I think you got maybe 4 or 5 innings before you were shut down again.
Yep.
Um, what was that like once you were back on the mound again, like in the following season? Was there like a
I
sense of
mean,
elation or
the biggest thing that changed for me is TJ, like UCL reconstruction surgery was it was so much easier compared to the last couple years that I've had of injuries here in pro ball. It's one of those things where you know what's happening, you know the timeline, you know what, there's, the day you're going to start throwing, the day that you come back, all that stuff's written out for you. The injuries that I've had to go through since getting drafted with my back, low back, just it was frustrating, definitely tough mentally. Had to turn a corner because, it's one of those things where it's our job. This is what we do. This is what we love to do. And when it gets taken away from you for so long, it's definitely hard to keep your head in it. And so for me, once I got back on a mound, I just was so happy to be throwing a baseball again, facing hitters and getting to compete. And I told
Hmm.
myself I'm never going to take that for granted ever again. I mean, it's
Hmm.
just, it's so easy as a minor leaguer to sit there and get caught up in, I want to get caught up in this next level and I want to go to the next level now, and I feel like I'm throwing well. Whereas like I think my time down and my time rehabbing gave me more of the perspective of I'm just happy every time I get to go out and throw a ball against hitters. I mean, it's that simple. The rest will take care of itself. And so for me mentally, I'm able to kind of just, anytime my name's called, I just go in there and enjoy what I'm doing and try to leave everything I have on the mound and kind of let the rest take care of itself, put in the work, um, train, eat right, sleep right, do everything that I'm required to do and more. And trust that, when I'm out there throwing, things will work out the way they're supposed to work out. Um, and it's just the time down definitely played a really, really big role in how I see things. And, going forward, I think going through something like that, it's a big blessing in disguise. And that's something that was hard to see at the time. I miss the game like crazy, but every time I'm on the mound now, it's a new opportunity to have some fun.
I guess that's the mental aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
You're an explosive.
mm,
Yeah, you're an explosive pitcher, man. Like I'm a big fan when you're on the mound. Like to me, you're one of the two guys that bring a crazy presence on the mound, you and Chase Hampton in the minor leagues, where it's just, every day. Where do you get that competitive nature from?
I love it. I mean, I totally, for me, I try to, it's not that I'm a different person on the mound. Like I don't try to be a completely different person, but I am. Off the mound, I'm definitely a lot more, a lot quieter, a lot easier going. But when I get on there, I mean, for me,
wait a minute, were you nicknamed Red Bull?
just just on the mound, really just on the mound. That's about it. Um, I I lose consciousness a lot of the time. For me, it's like I'm just there, and it's like any reaction that I have, like I try to be even keel, and especially when things aren't going well. But like if I make a pitch I want to make, and I throw it in a spot I want to throw it, it's like I react sometimes in ways that I don't necessarily try to, but I get fired up, and for me it just adds to the level. I mean, like the bigger the crowd, the more fun, the more energy, the more excitement I have.
You feed off of it.
I'm never for me, I'm never nervous to pitch. I'm never kind of worried about going into outings. That's not something, I'm lucky that that's not something I have to worry about. Sometimes just got to tone it down a little bit. But it's funny you mentioned Chase. That Chase is one of my close buddies. I love him, and he's an absolute dog too. I mean, that dude, he wants to get everybody out in the quickest and most efficient way possible. And if he does one little thing wrong, he's not happy with himself. And
Hmm.
that's one of the most successful pitchers you're going to see. He's a beast.
Man, I don't care. I love the attitude that you and Chase show on the mound. I love it. It's part of the game. It's nothing personal. You just fire it up. That's how I take it.
No, it's never anything personal. I love pitching so much, man. I love the game of baseball. It's that simple. It's like, I think emotion in the game of baseball is a great thing. If you're a hitter and you pip a home run, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're a pitcher
Mhm.
and you strike a guy out and you you
Yeah.
know make it no, there's nothing wrong with that. I love that part of the game. I've loved watching these playoffs. There's a lot of that,
Hmm.
and it's been really really fun to watch. Some of these guys compete out there, especially our team right now. Man, we are rolling.
Absolutely, absolutely. I wanted to talk to touch on one thing that I brought up earlier was the mental aspect of the game. I want to talk about your time at Hudson Valley. I think you pitched like 10 games there, but you were damn near unhittable. I think you only gave up 2 hits, no runs there. Strikeout rate of like 50%. I mean, what was that like when you go onto that mound and you're having that type of success? How do you feel going out there?
It's just again, I think the time that I spent down, it changed how I look at pitching, how I look at results by a lot. I had to work really hard to get healthy and to stay healthy, and that time was used to develop my off speed, develop my slider, develop my changeup, know how to compete, know how to attack guys, know how to sequence. And for me, I just had fun getting guys out in different ways, starting guys off with a slider, going
Hmm.
slider changeup in a row, things I've never done before. Like for me, it was really, really fun being able to go out there and see the progress and see, the work that I was doing paying off. And a lot, so much of that credit is due to our player development staff, like our one of my coaches down there in the FCL, and one of our rehab coordinators, Krem. He's unbelievable. That guy has helped me to no extent. Honestly, changed my career. And our physical therapy department. I mean, it's such a team effort that when you go out and you have good results, it's not just I've been working my tail off. It's there's so much that goes into it, that if it wasn't such a well-oiled machine, that things wouldn't be going that way. So when I'm out there and I'm seeing results and getting a couple strikeouts an inning, it's just a testament to how well everything has to happen in order for things like that to work.
I remember your time at Hudson Valley was going so well for you. I think I tweeted out, Eric Reyzelman breathes and he strikes out 3 guys.
It was fun. We had such a fun team too. That was, yeah. I mean, every atmosphere was just it was awesome. I again, I just love playing baseball. It's as simple as that.
Is
Um,
there any guys that you faced that were like to you that were the toughest out for you in any of the levels that you versed?
Oh yeah, Jake Holton, Tigers.
mm,
That guy had my number. So I remember calling. So one of my best buddies, my roommate, lived with him in the off season. Love him to death, Harrison Cohen. We're
mm,
super close. We've been super close since the draft. And I remember calling him the day after I faced Jake the first time, and he hit the first home run of the season against me was by him at Erie. And he did not leave anything up to doubt. He crushed it. I mean, I gave him. I went down 2-1, and I had to come into the zone, and he knew that I was going heater, and he let me know. So I remember calling Harrison, and I was like, dude, I can't wait to face that guy again. I'm gonna have one more outing against him. I'm gonna get him like that. And the rest of the week, I was sitting there and I was making sure I knew exactly what I was gonna throw him. I was gonna face him, and I go up and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna attack this guy. I'm not gonna be scared of him. I'm not gonna throw him a slider. I'm not gonna throw him a changeup. I'm gonna go right at him, fastball outside corner. And I started it outside, tailed a little in. He hit it 110 right past my ear. And as he rounded first, I was like, dude, that's gonna be a guy that I really, really have to like. It's gonna be a personal thing to me next time I face him. I got to get that guy out. I take that very, very personally. A guy that sees me well, beats me, give him as much credit as I can, and try to get a better game plan to face him the next time.
uh, I have 2 questions that members brought me here. One is from Tina. How would you grade your performance this year compared to last season? And what do you feel you need to work on in the off season?
Absolutely. I would say the biggest improvement in my performance this year was the fact that I was able to perform and be on the mound. That would be my first answer there. But again, it's just for me, the biggest difference was the work that we did on the off-speed pitches. I've always had my fastball. I have a lot of confidence in my fastball, but um, professional baseball is not a game where you can go, throw one pitch and unless you're Mariano Rivera,
Mm,
unless you're the legend himself, you need to have a repertoire. And for me, that was, the most important thing going into last offseason. And after coming back and after, having the time to work on it, I think that was the biggest thing is being able to attack guys with different weapons. And I think that's what did it for me this year and was able to give me, kind of first taste of some success. And going into this off season for me, again, it's just staying as healthy as I can. I'm trying to make sure, sorry. Staying as healthy as I can, trying to make sure that I keep my body in the best shape I can, and being ready for spring training, coming right back out with my same 3 pitches and going from there.
All right. The last question I have from a member is Diver. He wants to know, how do you see yourself as a future closer within the next 3 to 4 years?
Um, I'm one of those guys, like when it comes to role, I love any role that I'm given. I love, at LSU I had a bunch of different roles. I had, came in the fifth, sixth inning, leverage, situations, bases loaded, whatever it may be. I loved it. Closed some games, loved it. In the Cape, started, loved it. I mean, again, there's, I think every situation, you bring someone in, there's a reason that you're brought into the game. So for me, I don't see any difference in role. I'm going to come in and be the same pitcher, whether it's in the first, fifth, or ninth inning.
Or bases loaded with no outs?
Bases loaded with no outs is my favorite position to come in. I have a thing. It's like, I tell the starters, like I love being given the chance to save starters runs, save guys
Hmm.
runs before me. I take that more seriously than my own runs because, it's just it's a it's a privilege to be able to come in with guys on base and strand them. That's one of my favorite things to do. That's the most leverage that you're going to be in. Is being in a close game and having to leave guys on, finding ways to get guys out, turn two, get a really important punch out. I think nothing fires me up more than coming in a situation like that and stranding runners.
Nick?
Yeah, I got a good one. So like any teammates in particular, like if you could learn one pitch from a teammate and really perfect it, like that you like that they throw, what would you want to throw? And who?
Yeah, yeah. I might actually have a couple on this one. First one is Colby White's splitter.
Mm.
That thing is one of the craziest pitches I've ever seen, and he throws it wherever he wants to throw, and you get some of the most ridiculous swings that I've ever seen. Um, let's see. And the second one would probably be, I like Chase's cutter a lot. I really
Mm.
like the idea of throwing a cutter. It hasn't been a pitch that I've thrown before, but I love seeing what guys can do to it and what it opens up. In being able to sequence to guys, it plays to righties and lefties. It's a fun pitch to throw when you execute it right, and it opens up a lot of other things.
Well, I mean, I know you got other stuff to do, so I definitely want to thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it. Eric, if you want to plug anything or if you want to tell people where they can reach you or find your socials.
No, I appreciate it, guys. Yeah, I just think my name comes up just fine. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
coming
Thank you
on,
again
man.
for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right.